Chapter 10, 9th of June 2017, Delusions and Angry Rants. It's painful to realise the meaning of the dream. Initially, it was because I couldn't stop my dog from making a mistake. For whatever reason, she was doing it, but the biggest core pain and heartache is that I deluded myself that she was okay and probably just had a broken leg. I was horrified when I was told the truth that she was dead. I didn't believe it. She was fine. She was in my arms. But when the delusion disappeared, I could see that she was indeed dead. It was horrible. The grief and the terror, the realization that my take on the situation was so wrong and deluded. The delusion was covering up my grief. It has led me in real life to look at what delusions exist to cover up my grief. The more I think about this, the bigger this topic appears. What am I deluded about? What delusions do I have about my family? The delusions that I need their approval. The delusions that they care. The delusions that any of them really care about any of them. The delusions that if I try harder, better, more, that they will finally accept me, that they will care for me. This is all a delusion. In 48 years, if I still feel uncared for, unloved by them, unimportant to them, ignored by them, then what the fuck am I deluding myself that they will ever care, that they will ever change? They do not want to change. It serves them not to change. They spent their time wanting to appear to be perfect, caring parents, rather than being the caring parents. The only time they ever showed any care for me was when they faced their own dark nights with health problems. None of them have ever contacted me to see how I am. This is why I'm doing this experiment, to see if they contact me. No. I read the letter out to my life coach yesterday, the one that I wrote to Dad in November 2015. It was the most heartfelt, raw, non-judgmental letter ever. My life coach said she had not heard such an emotional letter for a long time. Did I get a response? No. I opened my heart wide, offering to connect. Did it connect? No. It was ignored, as I have been ignored. They do not give a shit. Any of them. I deluded myself for all my life that they did. But they are incapable. I am angry. I feel the anger in me that I have not been allowed to express in years. I feel betrayed, abandoned, rejected. That little girl who wanted to be loved, who dedicated her life in pursuit of a genuine love with my parents. A delusion. It was not possible. It was never possible. I have spent so much time in this pursuit. A waste of time, perhaps? Part of me thinks it has been such a waste of time. The pursuit of acceptance that was an impossible situation. I know I'm supposed to show compassion in these situations. I have been doing the compassion thing with my family. That is why I kept trying. However, I am not deluding myself in how I feel about it anymore. I feel angry, cheated, betrayed, abandoned, scapegoated, and with my mum in particular, used. I have never expressed this before. I have never been allowed to. The guilt and shame in feeling this about my family has prevented it. Now the veil of delusion has dropped and I can see it for what it is. I feel so angry about this. How could they do this to their little girl who they brought into the world? It was not her fault she was born. I want so much to feel compassion towards them. I really do. I want to feel compassion, not do compassion, to just look compassionate. I could do compassion, even though there was this underlying layer of anger and betrayal. I have to be honest, and say I cannot feel compassion fully until I have experienced the anger, until I have felt the anger. I knew there was something there. I could not see it. I could not describe it, but I could sense something. It was in the image of the gunky green-blue ink splot that I described to my craniosacral therapist when I looked into the pain. It was dark, full of stuff but not clear. It has quickly come into clarity now the veil of delusion has fallen. I see the anger as the briar and the weeds I have to clear from the garden in order to allow it to grow, in order to allow it to grow compassion. The feeling of compassion, not the doing of compassion. It's so very different. I never saw myself as an angry person. I thought I didn't do anger. I suppressed it, and I didn't feel it because of the shame and guilt. It's not that I didn't do anger. I just didn't feel anger. I denied it. I ignored it. I abandoned it. I need to feel the anger I have now acknowledged. I need to just feel it, not use it as a weapon. That is, not to act on it, but just to feel it. Feeling it will release it. Thank you to my ex for saying, I can't communicate with you because you don't like anger. That was possibly one of the truest things she said. I didn't like anger. I also didn't acknowledge anger. I was and am full of abandoned anger that I've dissociated from. My ex was more of a mirror than I really wanted to admit. We were both inauthentic in that we had disconnected from our true selves. That's a hard pill to swallow because it leads me to think that if I had recognised that at the time, I could have behaved differently. Sure, but the outcome would have been the same. People come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. My ex came to me for a reason and a short season. I truly see that if she had not been there, I would never have had this shift. Painful as it is, it was always what needed to happen. I feel guilty for feeling the anger, even shameful. This is why I haven't dealt with it for so long. I want to feel that my parents did their best. They were products of their own upbringing. They are as disconnected with their emotions as I am. So, although I want to rid myself of this anger, the shame of having the anger is preventing me from connecting with it. The shame of feeling anger is preventing me from releasing it. But I have to be honest and admit I have this anger. I need to feel it to release it. So the double whammy of feeling anger will also make me feel shame. But the truth is, I have this anger and I have it because of circumstances. I felt anger as a child and I was berated for it, so I disconnected. Anger, guilt and shame was too unbearable for a child. With eyes fresh, I can allow myself to feel the anger and shame without reacting to it, responding to it instead. What a burden to be carrying for so many years, 40 years maybe. However, most people are not even aware of this. The pain of carrying it long term is hard. Short-term pain of feeling is acute but necessary. It could feel like an ego death of kinds, I'm sure. It reminds me of the red or blue pill scenario in the Matrix film. Because once you are aware of it, you can never fully go back to the sleep state. You have to go through the pain and learning. There is no other option. the